Yo, we're doing a healer tier list for Mythic Plus in 10.1.5. It's going to be a banger of a video, and I'm excited to cover parts of the new Holy Paladin rework and how they'll play into going into the rest of the season. A lot of the information I've gathered for this is based on the highest IO of these specs on Raider.io, highest keys completed, and Warcraft logs. I've done a little testing on the PTR, played all of these healers over the years, but definitely have more experience with some over the others. But I do my best to keep up to date with the blue post changes, tuning, and I love watching high Mythic Plus content. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's explain the tier list real quick. So we got S is God tier. This is the best specs in the game. They're pushing the highest keys. They do not have a lot of weaknesses. They're great in all types of content. They're insane. A is awesome. A little bit more clear weaknesses than S tier. Still performing very well, doing very high keys. Maybe just doesn't bring the same, maybe burst healing profile, single target healing, utility, anything like that. B is good, pretty good all around. So you can push pretty high keys, just a little bit more weaker, whether that's healing throughput or, utility, anything like that. C is meh, maybe needs some tuning or something to bring up on par the rest of these healers. Probably will struggle on the higher end of content. And then D is send help. They need a serious rework or tuning changes to be able to push high content or anything like that. Really bad over here. But there's no specs here 100%, which I think Blizzard's just done a really good job of that part. So every healer 2 right now, I want to let you guys know, is able to push up to plus 20s, plus 21s, plus 22s. So really play whatever you want and enjoy. Only unless you're pushing like super high keys like 27s, 28s, 29s, will it really matter to play what's meta, what's doing really well, or if you just like, performing the best you possibly can. Let's jump right into this. To kick things off, let's go with Resto Druid. They're going high 8s here, guys. They are doing so freaking well, completing some really high keys. You're bringing Mark of the Wild, Battle Res, Stampeding Roar, Root with Ursul's Vortex, Knockback, Incap Roar if needed, Hibernate for Incorporeals, good mobility, and Soothe, which is great for dungeons like Brackenhide. They've got good survivability with Bark Skin, Nature's Vigil, and Bear Form swapping. Great responses to all types of damage with their HOTS. It's good for AoE damage and single target like burst damage. Even better when you have knowledge of fights to anticipate and pre-hot targets. I think that it works to your advantage more with Resto Druid than some other healers. They have Cenarian Ward and Bark Skin to help with bursts of damage to a single target. All abilities damage too, and going into 10.1.5 is buffed by 25%, so their damage is literally being buffed by so freaking much. All the other heroes got a 10% damage increase, I believe, and Resto Druid got the biggest one of 25. They really needed it. I think the only area they were really struggling with was their damage, so it's good to pick that back up. I think it is harder to execute damage compared to some of the other heroes like Resto Shaman, Preservation Evoker, and Holy Paladin. But if you can pre-hot your team, you know what damage is incoming, and then you can commit to damage pretty damn well, and you can pump like crazy. Like I said, they are completing some of the highest keys right now. I think even if Guardian Druid, takes the cake for one of the best tank, it is taking the cake for sure. It's either the best tank or right there with Vengeance Demon Hunter. It doesn't hurt to have 2 Druids in your group. It really doesn't. You have so much utility that you're bringing with both, and it doesn't overlap. It's really nice to have, so I don't think that hurts their case here. So definitely high 8 tier. Next up, Preservation Evoker. I'm actually going to put Preservation Evoker in S tier. They're doing insane. If you look on Raider.io right now, guys, they are completing the highest keys in the game right now. They're bonkers. Okay, you got tons of utility too. You got Zephyr, Renewing Blaze, Blessing of the Bronze, Rescue, Knock Up, Knock Back, Root, Group Stun, Bleed Dispel, great mobility, and you have Bloodlust. It's insane. So many great responses to incoming damage with Dream Breath, Rewind, Stasis, Spirit Bloom, Echo, doubling your next heal of 70% of its original amount, which is super good if played well. Dream Flight, if talented, which can actually be an insane hot or just burst healing. You also have Internal Communion, which is just an amazing oh shit button, especially if you're new to healing. Time Dilation is also incredibly overpowered. Fantastic to use for burst damage on single target. It's easy to commit damage to, easy to do damage on Preservation Evoker. I love that. Some fights might prove to be more difficult with having to, like move more mid-close range because of some of your heals. But it can also be helpful to when you have to be stacked like the last boss of Underrot or in a smaller like space like the last boss of Brackenhide. All healing and buffs will buff by 2% in 10.1.5. Damage ability is buffed by 10%. You have a 2 set adjusted by buff to buffer versions healing instead of crit chance healing, which is really nice, I think. And they slightly nerfed Rewind, but I don't think it'll impact them like in a big way. I think the Preservation Evoker is one of the best healers in the game, probably the second best healer. They're just doing an insane amount of HPS right now. And I don't see this changing. I don't see it changing with Augmentation Evoker coming in the mix either. They're staying up here, and I'm so excited about it. I really enjoyed playing my Preservation Evoker. They're just really fun. Next up, guys, Holy Paladin. There's a lot to cover here, so I'm gonna try to do my best I can, but not, not give this like a 15-minute video. So Holy Paladin is the best healer in the game right now, in my opinion. They are completing some of the highest keys in the game. This was before the rework, okay? Before the rework, and the rework just made them way better. I'm not even kidding. So before we talk about the rework, though, which I'm sure you'll love to hear, especially if you're excited about it, let's talk about the basics of what they bring. They have so much utility, right? Blessing of Protection, Blessing of Sacrifice, Lay on Hands, Freedom, Devotion, or Rework for your group. You've got a Fast Interrupt. Relatively easy to pick up, but has a really high skill ceiling based off of all their utility. The combo point system they have, Holy Power to execute some heals, and being in melee range can take some getting used to. But once you get used to it, oh my gosh. They do an incredible amount of single target burst healing, which is great for tank busters or single target dots. And the new Mega Dungeon, they do phenomenal there already. Can put out some enormous heals in short windows, which is very, very good for the dungeons this season. To cover a little bit of the rework was massive. There's some really cool changes. You now have 2 Holy Shocks. Glimmer of Light will split damage and healing on targets affected by Glimmer, which can be normally 3 people, but you can actually take a talent, which will make it 5. Judgment grants 1 Holy Power, and you've got a new ability called Daybreak that's on a 1-minute cooldown, so it goes with Divine Toll too, which will consume Glimmer procs at 200%, and it will help regain mana, which is just insane on a 1-minute cooldown. They also have a talent that makes it so your next Holy Shot procs 2 more times after casting Daybreak, so that's really nice. Awakening also seems insanely fun. You basically build up stacks to then spin on Judgment to proc Wings. Seems like a really fun minigame baked into your rotation that feels impactful and that you get to choose when that happens. Holy Paladin has a super fast, responsive playstyle going to the patch, per usual, and looks rewarding as hell to play. I think it's going to be played around with Holy Shock, Daybreak, procking Wings, and spinning Infusion of Light procs wisely. I haven't played Holy Paladin in a while, but I fully plan to this patch, but I have been keeping up to date with most of the changes and as best as I can. I do want to shout out Automatic Jack's video on Holy Paladin in 10.1.5. It is absolutely phenomenal. He does a great job covering the changes in depth, how it feels, and if you're interested in playing, go check it out. I'll leave a link down below, so definitely check that out. I love that video. He does such a great job with all the healers, so if you're interested in healing and you don't know his channel, highly recommend it. Like I said, I'll leave that down below, but Holy Paladin, definitely the best healer going into 10.1.5. Absolutely insane. Next up, let's go with Mistweaver. Mistweaver is going to go high B, actually. I think it's still a good healer, and like I said in the beginning of the video, B is still really good. You can still perform really high keys. They're doing phenomenal, okay? You got Mystic Touch to increase physical damage for your group. So really good in high physical damage comps. They've got Leg Sweep for AoE stun, Ring of Peace, Paralysis for certain mobs or incorporeal, insane mobility. You've got Touch of Death. You've got, a Quick Interrupt. There's literally so much utility you're bringing. You got good survivability between Fortifying Brew, which they buff, Diffuse Magic, and Dampen Harm. I think Mistweaver is just sleeper good. It's just that hardly anyone plays them. In terms of performance and IO comparison compared to the top healers, they do fall behind a lot of the healers except for one. But again, I think that's partly due to them being one of the least played classes and specs in the game. I think if more people played them, we would see them played at a higher level, but I think that I need to take that in consideration of where they are in this tier list. They've got so many great abilities, though, for healing, such as like Life Cocoon, which is freaking insane, Revival, Phalanx Stomp, Essence, I can't remember what it's called, Thunder, Focus Key, and more. Damage got buffed by 10% in 10.1.5, which is really nice. I honestly wish I got into this healer way more. I fully plan to. I'm on this kick right now for Holy Paladin and Preservation Evoker right now. It's just been what I've been playing most, or what I'm going to be playing most for Holy Paladin, but what I've been playing most for this last patch. But guys, they're insane. I really recommend you guys check out Megaset, though. She does an awesome job covering everything Mistweaver Monk. I'll leave her channel in the description below too, but she does a really good job. I've watched some of her content. A lot of people in the past videos have recommended her channel and in comments below, so really go check her out. Like I said, I'll leave that down below. But high B tier for sure. All right, next up we got healers. Okay, so Disc Priest is going in A tier. Disc Priest is doing really freaking well. Obviously, you're bringing some great things to your group like Power Infusion, Stamina Buff, Shackle for Incorporeal, Mass Dispel, which is just incredibly OP. You got Mind Soothe, AoE Fear like CC, and Leap of Faith. Not great mobility compared to like Mistweaver Monk or Resto Druid, but has great HPS throughput if played well and can push insanely high keys. They have great responses to incoming damage with Penance, Pain Suppression, Rapture, and Atonement that plays in a DPS rotation if it's executed well. And they can do really good damage too, while also healing the group. It's really nice. They do have a really high skill ceiling, but man, if you learn it, holy shit, I've been getting into mine, and it's been a blast. Their damage even got buffed by 10% in 10.1.5, while Atonement got a slight nerf, but I think it'll still do well. Very, very fun to play. 100% belongs in A tier. I think it's probably brought less or not on the same IO level as, you know, Resto Druid, Preservation Evoker, or Holy Paladin. Because of Shadow's performance and how well Shadow Priest is doing right now, and then both having Massive Spell, and that's really, you know, you're bringing it for the Mind Soothe and Massive Spell most of the time. I think if Shadow Priest ever, you know, moves down on this, I think we could see Disc Priest rise just because of the value of Massive Spell, Power Infusion, and Mind Soothe in these dungeons. But for right now, definitely A tier, but not super far behind Resto, but I don't think it's performing as well as Resto Druid, at least in terms of IO. Next up is Holy Priest. I think is our weakest healer going in. I still think they're B tier. I don't think they belong in C. Still very good overall. I think they are the weakest healer. I think Mistweaver, like I said, is doing better. But you're bringing all the same utility. You know, Power Infusion, Stamina buff, Shackle for Incorporeal, Massive Spell, Mind Soothe, AoE CC, all that jazz. It's really insane. I think they're doing decent, like I said, but they're just performing less HPS-wise than a lot of these other healers. They're very easy healer to pick up, though, in my opinion. It has some depth to the spec, too, if you want to learn it, but they have a lot of responses to AoE damage, and it's really why they shine, especially in raid. Raid content, you got Prayer of Healing, Circle of Healing, Divine Hymn, Holy Word Sanctify, Guardian Spirit, and a bunch more abilities. Really feels like you always have something to respond to damage, which feels nice, especially if you're new to the game. They buff their damage by 10% as well, and change some of the talents. I think if they buff their healing again, or if Shadow loses its value, we could see this played at a higher level. Right now, I think it is the weakest healer, and definitely not performing at the same level as Discipline Priest. Discipline Priest. So let's go. Last one, Resto Druid. I'm actually going to put it above Discipline Priest, but below Resto Druid, especially in terms of IO. Resto Druid is performing higher keys than Resto Shaman right now, but they've got good mobility. You know, you've got Tremor Totem for Fear, Bloodlust, Fast Interrupt, which can be insanely helpful in Pugs, Earth Elemental to help with heavy damage mobs, Hex for Incorporeal, Reincarnation, AoE Stun. They have a Knock Up, Knockback, and good survivability with Ancestral Guidance and Astral Shift. Even though Ancestral Guidance got nerfed, it's still valuable. You have so many tools at your disposal, and it's why Resto Shaman will probably always have a decent spot in Mythic Plus and Raid. You got Poison Totem for AoE Cleanse, which is really good for Neltharian's Lair. Cloudburst Totem to release stored healing at one time. Ascendance, Healing Stream Totem, and of course Healing Tide Totem, which is OP as hell. Resto Shine's really an AoE healing. It's very easy to do damage with him as well, and with Acid Rain, Chain Lightning, Lightning Bolt, and Lava Burst. Insanely good healer, and the only reason it's not higher, I think, is because Holy Paladin, Preservation Evoker, and Resto Druid are just performing so freaking well. I am not kidding, guys, when I say that Holy Paladin was insane before, and they are bonkers right now. If you've ever wanted to play them or try them out, do it right now. It looks insanely fun. I am 100% going to be doing that. It just looks like a blast. But this is where I stand, guys. Holy Paladin, definitely the best healer going in this next pass. Preservation Evoker, probably not far behind. And like before we go into 10.1.5, Preservation Evoker actually had the top keys completed in the game right now, with Holy Paladin literally right there on their heels, and Resto Druid following up behind that. But seriously, all these healers are really good, guys. Play what you enjoy. I mean that. I appreciate you guys watching the video. Super excited for a lot of the changes for these healers going into 10.1.5, especially Holy Paladin, and to test them out in the new Mega Dungeons is going to be super fun. Feel free to go check me out on Twitch too, where I stream WoW and occasionally Diablo 4, some other games when I can. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you. And until next time, peace.